So this is me. I started climbing a few months ago, and although I consider myself a noob still, I enjoy it a lot. For some time now I've heard of this thing called a hangboard, and since I'm very interested in functional performance, I figured this was something I had to try out. I set myself the goal of doing 30 days of hangboard training, and so to have something to compare to, I tested my initial max hangs on day 0. I used the Beastmaker 1000 without any chalk on my hands, and these were my results using a half crimp grip on all holds. On the 45mm edge, I got a time of 49.8 seconds. On the 45mm edge, with 12 kilos added to me, I got a time of 27.1 seconds, and on the 20mm edge, I managed to hold on for 2.8 seconds. Going into this, having never hangboarded ever before in my life, I found it quite hard to decide upon a training system. But then I came across Geek Climber's video trying a new innovative hangboard training method for 30 days, and I figured this would be a cool training system to try out. Link to his video in the description below, by the way. Basically, you perform unilateral max pull isometrics for a few seconds at a time. So you're standing on the ground below the hangboard, and for a few seconds you pull down as hard as you can with one arm. Then you rest for some time, perform the pull with the other arm, and so it goes. The system I ended up implementing was pulling for about 5 to 7 seconds using the 20mm edge, resting for a minute, switching arms, performing another pull, and resting for another minute again.
Bruh.
I did this for a few rounds every other day, as I was also climbing a few times a week and didn't want to risk overloading my fingers. However, this method should be quite suitable for a newbie climber and hangboarder, as it's supposed to be very low risk, given that you're not actually fully hanging at any point in time, but rather pulling with max effort for limited durations of time. In the beginning I did 6 such rounds every other day, but then started increasing slightly, such that after my first 3 training days I did 7 rounds each training day, then after the next 3 training days I did 8 rounds, then 9, and then 10 rounds on the last 3 training days. Note that I consistently stuck to the 20mm edge for the training, and given that I only trained every other day, I ended up having 15 training sessions in the course of the 30 days. Also, on day 13, I started using chalk in my training as I'd spoken to some climbers, and I actually noticed quite a difference. The chalk would absorb any sweat and make it easier for me to stay on the edges whenever I would do free hangs from time to time. So I continued to train with chalk, but decided I would perform my final max hangs at the end of the 30-day period without it to most closely mirror the day 0 tests. And after 30 days, these were my results. On the 45mm edge, I managed to hold on for 1 minute and 30.3 seconds, which was an 81.3% increase in time. On the 45mm edge with 12 kilos added to me, I managed to hold on for 54.2 seconds. Now this was an exact doubling, so a 100% increase in time. And on the 20mm edge, I managed to hold on for a whopping 23.3 seconds. Now this was a 732% increase in time from what I managed to do at day 0, which was quite astonishing. So I figured there were 2 other types of tests I wanted to run at this point. Well, one of those was the 20mm edge with 12 kilos added around me, which yielded a time of 9.2 seconds. And then the last thing I tested was the 15mm edge, which I'd never been able to hang off of. Here I got a time of 1.4 seconds. Now this would technically be an infinite increase in the time held, but note that I barely held on doing this test without the chalk. Now with the chalk it was a bit easier to hold on, but I still couldn't manage more than a few seconds, say 3 to 4 at maximum, but nevertheless quite an improvement. Since I have no prior experience, I won't be able to say anything about the effectiveness of this method compared to any other, but I figured it would be an interesting place to start, and it definitely was. Note that I was doing other types of training at the time, which may or may not have impacted my results. Nevertheless, I would definitely recommend others to try the routine, and just to hangboard in general, especially if you've got an interest for climbing or even just want to improve finger strength in general. I must say that I'm quite content with my results, and I will definitely keep on hangboarding, although maybe not as often as I have during this past month. Anyways, if any of you have suggestions or recommendations for hangboarding routines or any other type of functional training to try out for some 30 days, let me know. With that being said, I'll see you guys in another 30 days. Cheers.